Hello, seekers after Christ. Here I am, Romuald, Simeone, and my book is Love Letters from Your Father. It's the Bible, the Lectio Divina on the Gospels of John. We're actually going chapter by chapter and explaining more in detail the sections of the scripture. I want to let you know that when you read the book, you're going to find much more detail and much more precise understanding of verse by verse of the Gospels. Here, I give an explanation, a general explanation of that area to let you know what's in that section. And this is the section, John 18, verses 34 to 40 to the end of the chapter. And it's a Lectio Divina. It's what Jesus says to me in each verse. The detail of that is in the book. But I'm going to give a sort of a synopsis of the area to let you understand what's in that section. Well, the last thing we had said was that Caiaphas and Pilate were game playing with each other. And the pawn was Jesus himself. A very black Friday morning. Well, it's not a Friday morning, it's already 12 hours of Friday, which began in the evening of Thursday. But anyway, the crowd is gathered before the courtyard of Pilate, gathering of, well, a vigilante group, really, because when you talk about game playing, here you look at the two different persons that are involved in this game. One is Caiaphas and the other is Pilate, the governor. Well, on Pilate's side, when you have a game, you have the professional. He's the fake religious leader, the high priest for that year. And he's the one who engineers and brings the anti-Jesus coalition together. He makes the decisions. He made that with the Sanhedrin, and they condemned Jesus to death for blasphemy. But he's a professional in gameplay. He was determined and focused and organized to get Jesus executed. And executed not by himself, where he had authority to do it by stoning for blasphemy, but to get Pilate to do it on a charge of sedition. He had it all organized. And he had organized it probably for almost the whole 3 years of Jesus' public life. The first time that he heard of him. First time he heard of him is when he came to the temple to restore it to prayer life rather than to commercialism. Well, he heard it through Annas. He heard it through maybe his own effort, his own connection to the Pharisees, the Sadducees, that kept giving reports for 3 years of Jesus reaching out to the people, proclaiming himself to be the Messiah, working miracles, and not having any authority, any official authority. Didn't believe to any rabbinical yeshiva school, just a wandering preacher. Yeah, you heard of all the different things happening to him, that there was a Essene, John the Baptist, who proclaimed him to be the Lamb of God. But he organized. He got all of reports constant from the Pharisees that confronted Jesus. The members of the Sanhedrin. He had reached Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea. He had reports from the teachers of the law. So he had come to the decision that Jesus had to be executed. He presented a warrant for Jesus' arrest when he come in. He engineered the excommunication of anyone who followed Jesus. They were to be thrown out of the synagogue. They were to be banned. They were not allowed to go into the holy places and pray. So much had happened. But he organized everything against to get the execution of Jesus. And now came this problem of executing him before the Passover because of the coming of all of the diaspora, the foreign Jews coming there to the Holy Land and to Jerusalem for the Passover, and they would return to their land and spread his name as Messiah all over the world. That was the danger. So he organized it well. He put everything in place. He maneuvered everything. Got the Sanhedrin together. Got the council together to condemn him. He brought him to trial. Trial was a fake one with the Torah. He had problems with it, but that didn't stop him. He was going to execute him by himself and make sure that Jesus would be condemned. But he was a terrific organizer, and you have to watch out in game playing about a person who is totally organized in every area. They make sure that they will not lose and cannot lose. They think of everything against them and how it could be overcome. So he had fantastic focus on what he was going to do to eliminate Jesus, to stop him, to eliminate his memory, and to disperse any following that he had. And he only had as those that would succeed him, 12 men, and one already had capitulated, Judas. So they were weak men, but he took care of every situation. Against him you had Pilate. Pilate had authority. He had military power. He had the backing of the Roman Empire. But they were distant. He was the man on the field. He was the one that had to negotiate. He had the one to make sure that Pax Romana was followed. But he is like the so-called expert amateur. He knew all the different things that he could do, but he didn't know or have the organization of people. He had the military power. He had the official power. He could execute. He could condemn. He could arrest. But he didn't have the people. Ultimately, the people can be very strong. Caiaphas made sure that the people that were involved in this whole fracas would be on his side. He gathered this crowd of protesters peaceful protesters who were threatening. Peaceful protesters who would not go away on their own against the Pilate, who looked so supreme, who looked so powerful, but had many weak areas. And Caiaphas knew Pilate better than Pilate knew Caiaphas. So, Pilate was self-reliant. He figured he had all the help he needed. He could disperse people if he wanted to. If he wanted to. He didn't see that it would be a need, an essential thing. But if he wanted to, he could do it with his soldiers. But when a person says that they want things, it's very personal. It's not as powerful as what the need is. And if you don't understand a need that has to be done to be essential to stop a situation or to correct it, and a want to compromise and work it out, then you have a problem. He was the expert, powerful amateur in this scenario. We'll see it over and over again. So, he had to pretend that he believed the accusation of sedition. It was not the real accusation. Pilate made him believe it. He had the Sanhedrin, he had maybe a document. The charge was a capital crime. The penalty was crucifixion. Trying to overthrow the Roman power and destroy Pax Romana. Pilate was very doubtful, but he didn't say it right out. He didn't say the charge. What are the situation of the charge? Give me the report of the Sanhedrin. No. He wanted to show that he was an objective judge. He was going to go according to what the charge was. So he calls Jesus in. He asked Jesus straight away, "Are you the King of the Jews? This charge against you." And Jesus answers, "Is this a charge that you know about?" Well, Pilate is saying, "No, I don't. It's not me." Strange enough, why wouldn't it be him if it were true? He was in charge of keeping the peace in all of Israel. Didn't he get any report of Jesus trying to overthrow the government or trying to get followers to form an army to dislodge the Romans? That's the only way he could do it. He couldn't go by just appealing to the governor of Syria, who was the official in the area, in the province, or to Rome itself. There were no reports. He would have heard of reports being sent to the emperor, to the Roman Senate. He had his own spies all through Israel to know where, or the fact that the Zealots wanted to overthrow the Romans and would use weapons and intrigue to overthrow the Romans. In 3 years, he had not heard about it. He only heard about this gentle preacher going around working miracles. He must have known of the existence of Jesus. People are claiming him. People going back to their religion. People not at all violent. He didn't develop vigilante groups to protest, not against the Pharisees, not against anyone. He just let people witness and absorb his teaching or reject it. In 3 years, Jesus going from one area to another, even going over to a foreign country, to Tyre and Sidon in Lebanon, or Phoenicia at the time. No bad reports. You get no bad reports. What are you going to do? It's like a police station doesn't get any bad report till they go after somebody. They need a complaint. Caiaphas had not made complaints to him before. Pretty clear. The Pharisees and the Sanhedrin, the Sadducees, the spies of the Pharisees, tackled Jesus every day. Wherever he showed up, they showed up. No reports were going to Pilate. No reports were going to Caesarea that we know of at all. Not even mentioned. So, what about opposing the taxes? There was no mention to him. No. None of the publicans reported to Pilate that they were being prevented from collecting the taxes. Instead, he was just converting people. Even a publican. Matthew became an apostle. But he simply passed over his job to somebody else. He didn't remain a Republican. A publican. A publican, not Republican. So, no reports being made to Pilate to curtail anybody. No reports of sedition. Yet he did have spies to know that the zealots were around. He would know that. He did not tie it into Jesus, even though one zealot became an apostle. So, there was no evidence. So he says to Jesus, it's your own men that have reported you to me. Now, they don't like you. They're saying all these things about you. And they said it was sedition. Jesus says, well, I'll tell you the truth. You ask me if I'm a king. Yes, I am. I'm the Messiah King. The spiritual king that tells people to observe law and order. To observe peace according to God's law. You have no trouble with us. You say, thou shalt not kill. We're not here. We haven't killed a single Roman soldier. We haven't been rioting in the streets. Not from anyone that follows me. I keep talking about love and peace. I talk about the union and unity of the human race. That everyone should be peaceful. I have no weapons, no army, nothing. If I were a political king and a member of a secret society of opponents to the Roman Empire, if I were such a man from the underground, you would know it. Would they allow me to be captured peacefully in a garden praying right near Jerusalem? The zealots are in hiding. I'm not in hiding. I'm open with everyone. Pilate has no reports, nothing against him. So he makes a conclusion. This man is not dangerous. This man is not a killer. This man is not organizing. You have to organize if you're going to overthrow a government. You have to have militant followers. Militant. Persons who are angry and hating, who are willing to die and to kill. None of this is the teaching of Jesus. None of this at all. So, he's not confused of what Caiaphas is doing. Now he knows they have something else going. It's something religious. It's religious, they can handle it. No, we have not. When he goes to them, says this man is innocent. He's innocent. He's acquitted. Have to send him home peacefully. There's no cause for bringing him to trial. I just put him on trial and ask him these questions. There's nothing here. You've got nothing going. A person who's a governor who has to keep the peace has to see some activity. It's amazing. If there was such activity, he had the leader. Why would he ever think of letting him go? So he goes to Caiaphas and the crowd, and he says, I see no cause in him. He's innocent. He's not done anything that you can accuse him. There is no evidence. There's no reality. Just let him alone. Oh, they protest. If he were not a criminal, we would not have presented him to you. Pilate is very skeptical. When there's no evidence, no action, no negative action, how in the world can you say he's so dangerous? He says, if it's a religious matter, take him yourself. And they say, no, we are not allowed by your law to execute by crucifixion. That does not mean they couldn't have killed him for a religious matter for blasphemy by stoning him, which they had tried before, and they had a warrant out for him. They were not going to get permission from the Romans to stone him under Mosaic law. They didn't have permission to try to stone that woman who was caught in adultery. They didn't need permission. They had the law on their side, the religious law. And there was the power of not official Roman execution, but execution of a person and excommunication. So they were lying when they said, we didn't have any power to kill him. They did, but not power to make him a public spectacle and execute him by Roman law by a crucifixion that would be resounded all over the whole empire. To not only liquidate him, but to prove that he was a pretender that was dangerous. Dangerous. The society was in danger by his presence. He was not only a usurper, but an organizer against civil and religious authority. But mainly civil, they were saying, by Pilate. What to do? Pilate could see their scheme. He could see their scheme. But he relied on himself and how to offset their scheme. And he thought that this mob that was out there were not vigilantes. They were just a peaceful group of Jews. That's such a misunderstanding of thinking that people were peaceful when they were hateful. Peaceful people are not hateful. They oppose the breaking of proper law. If they were opposed to breaking the law of the Torah, that would be understandable. And how come, with all of this, the people everywhere that were backing up Jesus, nobody backing up Jesus was present? The organizers made sure they were not present. They had to get people out of their beds or coming from morning prayer at the temple. They rounded them up and said that Jesus was a blasphemer. People believe leaders. People that they supposedly trust. They trusted their elders. Even Jesus never said that you cannot trust them at all. He says, just don't do what they do. But if they have proper authority, obey them. He didn't ask for the breaking up of the Jewish religious system. Just the opposite. So, Pilate says, here, okay, he thinks Caiaphas is not so clever. That Caiaphas didn't organize these people out in the courtyard. We don't know how many there were, hundreds, maybe thousands, for all we know. Wherever it is, they were unanimous. And Caiaphas and the Sanhedrin, the leaders of the law, the judges, had them in the palm of their hands. They would say and believe whatever these leaders told them to believe. But Pilate doesn't know all this. So he figures something out. He says, oh, at the Passover, I know I was heard, and maybe somebody came and told him while he was talking. I know the Passover we are allowed to let out a prisoner that the people love, that the people understand, to release someone from captivity. And here we have this peaceful preacher that your leadership seems to hate, that they brought to me, lying about him, not having witnesses in his favor. And we've got the worst man we've got in the prison. One that caused you so much trouble, deserves execution. A vicious brigand. One who attacks the people and the empire. can't say the worst of the person. They bring out the chief prisoner that they had, the most disgusting, vicious person, a murderer of people, as well as attacking the Roman Empire. So, they come in and they say to him, "Who will you have me to be free on this holy day of the Passover? This innocent, where I find no fault in him, where Caiaphas and the accusation they put against him is declared to be false. And I declare it in judgment on him. I've examined him. It's false. He desires to kill no one. He's peaceful. Everything he's done that I hear about is acceptable and honorable." But then you have Barabbas, the worst person that you have, and I take him to protect you from such a murderer. And he's convinced that this crowd, not knowing that Caiaphas had brought them there, that he could persuade them. And he appeals to the crowd, not to Caiaphas. "Who do you want me to release to you on this holy day?" But Caiaphas and his men have gone to the crowd, and they began to call out, "Crucify him! Crucify him! We want no man released but Barabbas." Barabbas? Not possible. This peaceful person against a brigand. Don't you see that, friends, often in life, that the most vicious person is backed up by authorities as being the honest, the honorable, the peace-loving person, and is released to the people where he's a complete danger and has been a danger. A felon, a multiple felon, that you know is so vicious. And he's saying, "Oh, release him to us. We'll handle it. We'll handle it." They insist. They insist. And Pilate is trapped. He has no choice. He said he was going to release someone for them on the Sabbath, and he's forced to do it. He made a false promise. Sometimes it reminds you of Herod Antipas, who, because his stepdaughter danced before the crowd and his guests, and he says, "What do you want? I'll give you any gift you want." He's so enthralled by her sensuous dance of the 7 veils that he makes a promise in his drunken stupor. And he says, "Even to the half of my kingdom." Of course, he did not mean that literally. He meant the greatest thing you can ask for. And she says, the head of John the Baptist. And he's stuck. Now Pilate is stuck. He thought for sure, in his way of thinking, that there was no way there was an equal choice. There was no way that good, honest people would not acclaim Jesus. That was what he saw from Caiaphas. Caiaphas was worried because all the people were following him. So where are the people that would follow Jesus? Notice that we say the silent majority. They may be a majority But when they're silent, they're nothing. Only in their own hearts. They don't act. If you're a human being, you have to think, judge, evaluate, and act. Without acting, you're not a full human being. You have to act on your values. You have no values unless you can act on them. They're not valuable to you. What you're doing, you're compromising and switching over. When you don't act on your values, the active people act on theirs. And you're lost. Apply that to your personal life. Inaction, compromises values. A silent majority is not a majority. It's a contradiction. It's a majority of people, but a minority of action. Without action, there is no changing or developing or protecting anything. You could be in a society where a crime was committed. You call for the police or for power to offset it, and they don't show up, no matter how many there are. It's nothing. Nothing. And without action, we are nothing. And here, with Pilate, it's very clear. Without positive action on your values, his value at this moment was to release a man he declared to be innocent. He could have done that on his own. He didn't have to bring up Barabbas. But he played a trick, and the trick didn't work. You don't get things done by trickery. You have to come out for what is real and true. Pilate could have released him immediately. Immediately. Send him on his peaceful way. Send Jesus on his peaceful way. Through the crowd. Nobody could have stopped him. He had guards and soldiers to let him through, to protect him, following the law. And that was his duty. This, by the way, is the capital sin of sloth. Not being responsible and doing your duty. Sloth just doesn't mean being lazy. It means by being inactive against truth. Being inactive against evil. Being inactive against your responsibility to correct persons, your children, your spouse, the society, in what they are doing wrong. Because if you do not correct the criminal actions, you are a collaborator. Your silence is collaboration. We must not be silent when people are attacking Jesus. Oh, well, I keep the peace. Peace of the grave is not peace. Elias said clearly, peace, peace, but there is no peace. There's no peace unless we act in defense of peace. Because peace in this world needs defense and needs personal action and not a silent majority. In fact, unless there's action, we can't count that majority. Majority is a number. And silent people are no majority at all, because you don't know what that they will do, what they're capable of doing and do not do. Barabbas is an example to us, and here Pilate is an example to us. Trickery doesn't work. It can turn on you. The trick doesn't trick the opposition, who have a bigger trick and an organized trick that really works, because they have action. And Caiaphas was determined on action. And he had action in the people that says, no, no, give us Barabbas. Not Jesus. They didn't give a reason. They were persuaded by evil persons. Inaction is the work of Satan. To have inaction against good is the work of Satan. For Jesus, there is no inaction. With God, there is no inaction, because that is sinful. That's rebellion. Inaction is active rebellion. It is the sin of sloth, of not taking responsibility, not acting to defend good. Because in this world, if you don't defend good, evil prevails. Brothers and sisters, let us not capitulate like Pilate did. If you have a good deed to do, do it while you have the power. Don't think that silence is peace. Silence is death. Let's pray for each other. God bless you.